This is CBC Vancouver News.
Some relief for residents of Fort St. John after its wildfire evacuation alert is lifted.
The alert is lifted today. I'm hoping that means that we'll be able to return as well.
But risk still remains high. The threat of flooding prompts evacuation orders for 2 communities near Terrace.
So another pump ready to go. That's all we can do, and if it goes overland, then this is all gone anyway.
How people are preparing to leave at a moment's notice. How 4 Asian Canadians are dismantling the model minority myth.
I was the Chinese kid who was good at school. I adopted that as my personality.
And what it means to be an ally in breaking the mold. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Janella Hamilton. Dan is away tonight. The case of an alleged Ponzi scheme was back in BC Supreme Court today. Hundreds of investors are suing BC mortgage broker Greg Martel after $225 million allegedly went missing. As Renee Filipponi explains, Martel's whereabouts are also uncertain.
I don't think that I'll ever see my money again.
Alia Stimson says she is just one of hundreds of investors in court looking for answers, and that she's out $300,000.
Due to health reasons at work, I don't qualify for maternity leave and was looking for alternative ways to kind of support my growing family.
She says she invested in a company called My Mortgage Auction Corp, based on Vancouver Island, and that its owner, Greg Martel, promised high returns and said the money was being used for short-term real estate investments.
You will 100% get paid back.
But in recent months, people say they couldn't get their money out. More than $200 million allegedly missing. The company placed into receivership. In a recent statement to CBC News, Martel says the company has the ability to enable all investors to recoup their investments and denies it's a Ponzi scheme. The firm overseeing the receivership says the company's financial statements say it had $234 million in assets, but it's only been able to locate one bank account with less than $300. The lawyer for one of the investors says Martel's whereabouts are unknown.
There has been a lack of cooperation in the context of providing information to the court, pursuant to court orders, and also providing information to investors as to where their money went.
It is a classic example of, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
This Vancouver investment advisor has been following the case and says what he has heard is shocking.
It's not good enough if their friends are making money and they want to get in on it. They should really be doing more due diligence before they do anything.
The judge has now given the receiver power to get more information about what happened to the millions of dollars and given Martel a deadline of May 26th to comply. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, Vancouver.
A big development in the fire situation in northern BC, and for residents of Fort St. John, a welcome one. The city has lifted an evacuation alert for all 21,000 people who live there. Liam Britton is in Fort St. John with more on how people are feeling.
Did you hear the evacuation alert here in Fort St. John just ended?
Yay! Oh, no!
That's the feeling in a nutshell.
That makes me feel like going home and having a party and a beer.
Hey, we should go have a beer.
Yes.
Others were a bit more reserved, but still pleased.
We packed up and we're ready to go, if there was anything to have changed, but looks like we're on the clear, or hopefully on the clear, so.
Yeah, how does it make you feel to know that it's over?
It's definitely relieving, right?
With 4 wildfires burning as close as 25 kilometers away, city officials asked people Monday to be ready to leave at a moment's notice. But firefighters got a break yesterday and today when winds weren't as strong and temperatures weren't as high as predicted.
48 hours later, we are in a much better place than we had potentially anticipated. The predominant threat has passed at this point in time, and we're working with our fire weather forecasters and our fire weather behavior specialists to forecast where the potential growth will be over the next 72 hours and beyond.
But while the alert is over here in town, in the countryside, many are still out of their homes, and they're anxious to return.
I was at school and then it was a bunch of smoke.
And what was it like seeing all that smoke coming to your school?
It was It was scary.
Like if Fort St. John, if the alert is lifted today, I'm hoping that means we're only like 6 minutes out of town. So I'm hoping that means that we'll be able to return as well.
So that's the next big question going forward. When will those people be able to return home? Right now, there are about 1,400 properties in the area under evacuation order. That's down from 1,800 yesterday. There are about 500 personnel from the BC Wildfire Service working on these fires, trying to get containment on them. Liam Britton, CBC News, Fort St. John.
A special air quality advisory has been issued for a large area of the interior because of wildfire smoke, and some parts of the Lower Mainland may soon see the first smoky skies of the summer season. As Yasmin Gandam reports, those conditions come with significant health risks.
The skies here in the Lower Mainland not as apocalyptic as years past, but in the interior and north, yellow, smog-filled skies. And there's more to come.
So it does look like the same pattern is going to continue for the next few days, and a shift in the pattern may come towards the end of the weekend.
Environment Canada says to keep an eye on the weather as conditions could change at a moment's notice. Wildfire smoke can cause health issues for many people, especially those who are immunocompromised, as well as younger children and pregnant women.
Stay indoors, wherever possible, and to use an air purifier or cleaner during the process, and that would filter out most of the air pollution particles indoors.
Health officials say to monitor breathing and reduce outdoor physical activity when possible, but the smoke isn't just affecting people's well-being, but also some people's livelihood. Vital Filtration in Fort St. John can't send its employees out to work.
It's limited outside work, right? But just because of smoke inhalation, it's been limited outside work for most crews. So like I said, if it doesn't have to be done, it's not being done in a lot of operations right now. When it comes to any labor intensive work, it's not being done right now.
He says although it's an early start to the wildfire season, he's been preparing for the worst.
It's starting to be something that's fairly regular, right? Now it's almost an expectation that when I was a kid, I was born and raised here. So when I was a kid, fire season wasn't really a thing. And now it's part of the lexicon now, right? Fire season is a thing in Northeast BC. It affects operations, businesses, municipalities. So it's a reality.
Pollution levels are fluctuating, but central and interior regions have seen level 10 conditions, the most dangerous today. And without rain, those risks continue. Yasmin Gandam, CBC News, Vancouver.
Meanwhile, officials with BC Wildfire Service say fire bans are needed to try to reduce the risk of wildfires across the province. As of noon tomorrow, a province-wide open burning ban will come into effect, meaning anything other than a campfire is off limits. However, for those in the Prince George Fire Centre, campfires will also be prohibited. The Regional District of Kitimat-Stikine has issued evacuation orders for the communities of Old Remo and New Remo, which are low-lying floodplains just west of Terrace. The district says it issued the evacuation orders because the flooding poses a threat to people and properties in the two communities. The CBC's Matt Allen was there as people safeguarded their homes and personal belongings the best they can, getting prepared to leave at a moment's notice.
This whole area that we're seeing here just becomes a lake. And then we'll have the water moving up towards our house. We put all of our electrical and all our machinery as high up as possible just to get it out. So that's what this is all about. We just, and we have a generator ready to go that we can keep the pumps going. And that's filled up and it's been tested and it's ready.
Oh yeah, I see the water's... See, you can see the debris in the, or the leading edge of the water coming in.
At what point were you saying you're going to have the people ready to move the cattle out?
If we're at 2007 levels and the bump is still coming, we're expecting higher waters, then I'll move.
So there's a pump in there keeping the water level down. And if I took the pump and stopped it, you'll see that the water actually is this high already, right? It's higher than my floor. So if you walk this way, then you'll see all of our stuff is up on blocks because as soon as it gets that deep, I've got a pump here that I'm going to throw on. As soon as the water gets deep enough, if it ever does. Otherwise, I'll get a shop vac in here and just clean this up. So another pump ready to go. That's all we can do. And if it goes overland, then this is all gone anyway. That's what it is.
BC's health minister is defending a decision to send thousands of cancer patients to Bellingham for treatment. Critics and healthcare advocates say the lack of cancer care in the province has persisted for decades. As Mira Baines explains, the current solution was used once before in the 1990s.
I say patients are more important than optics.
An old solution for a familiar problem, a lack of cancer care. Back in 1991, under a Socred government, about 400 BC men with prostate cancer had to go to Washington State for treatment because there weren't enough radiation technicians or machines in BC.
We realize that this is a short-term solution, and with the new facilities we have online and coming online this summer, and the new staff we've hired, we're confident by this fall we will be able to stop referring patients to Washington.
In the 1990s, Pam Shaw's father, who lived in Abbotsford, received radiation treatment in Washington for his cancer.
He did very well. He was the cancer was taken care of, and he lived, for some time after that. He did not die of that cancer.
Advocates for cancer patients are questioning why the province hasn't acted sooner to build more cancer clinics and has had to return to this solution.
This is not a new problem that no one saw on the horizon years ago, even before the pandemic, that we were reaching capacity numbers.
She says the travel causes stress for patients who are already dealing with significant health concerns. The opposition BC United says leaked information shows that only 77% were meeting a 4-week benchmark to begin radiation therapy in a month. The party also says patients outside the Lower Mainland are being more impacted.
You ask the people of Kamloops how they feel about a promise that's been made over and over again, and there is no visible sign that that project is even anywhere near getting underway.
Dick says the province is focused on its 10-year plan to improve cancer care.
This is pretty decisive action in addition to a massive cancer plan, which focuses on research, health, human resources, and getting more care to patients. So it's just one more step.
Eligible breast and prostate cancer patients will be sent to clinics in Bellingham starting on May 29th. Mira Baines, CBC News, Vancouver.
Pilots for one of Canada's largest airlines are close to walking off the job and potentially causing mass flight cancellations. WestJet's CEO says the two sides are no closer to a deal. They've been negotiating pay and job security for 9 months without success. Strikes could affect WestJet and Swoop flights, disrupting long weekend travel plans for thousands of Canadians.
I want to be in a place where I can be my full multidimensional self.
It's called the model minority myth. Up next, you'll hear from a group of young Asian Canadians trying to bust that stereotype. Thanks for watching our commercial-free live stream. The town of Banff has set ambitious waste reduction targets, aiming to divert 70% of its landfill waste by 2028 and ultimately sending no waste to the landfill at all by 2050. City officials say they are making good progress. Take a look.
In 2018, our council set waste diversion targets of 70% diversion by 2028 and ultimately sending zero waste to landfill. Currently, our diversion rate sits just above 50%, which is about a 15% increase since pre-pandemic levels. Unfortunately, that our residential sector still has a long way to go. Our residential diversion is currently about 32%. And a really big part of material that we're diverting from landfill, it's about 1,500 metric tons every year, roughly. We have a lot of people coming and going from our community all the time. It means there's a lot of people that come here and need everything you need to live a life, but then they need to get rid of it after 6 months. Couches, we have a lot of mattresses coming through and different household items, again, that people just need to get rid of after a season here in Banff. We are a waste transfer site here, so we don't actually process the materials here. They get sent off to different facilities where they're then recycled and turned into new products. People can just drop off items here for free, and then residents can come take them for free as well, and there's lots and lots of treasures to be found. Our first part of the bylaw comes into effect July 1st of this year, which will require that accessory items like straws and cutlery are provided by request only. And then it also has a requirement for businesses to accept personal customer cups and containers. We really do need the whole community to get on board in order for us to reach our targets. Over the course of Asian Heritage Month, we've been bringing you stories celebrating the Asian community. But as Lian Young reports, there are still issues of discrimination. One of them is the harmful perception of Asians as, quote, model minorities.
What does the model minority myth mean to you? I was the Chinese kid who was good at school. I adopted that as my personality, and that's all that I thought that I could be.
The concept of model minority myth just sends me into a blind rage. Its premise is pitting one culture over another, saying that you're better than you.
Not being able to fit into the myth of what model minorities are made me feel a little bit like a black sheep.
I want to be in a place where I can be my full multidimensional self. I don't have to always think about what it looks like as a brown person in a white world.
The model minority myth affected all of my major life decisions. I was a lawyer who went to court all the time, and I really did enjoy it, but it wasn't really what I was cut out for. And I stuck with it so long, partly because it gave me financial stability, and it gave me social validation. The values that my parents instilled in me is that it was really important to get a traditional job and a stable career. I liked my job as a lawyer because I was doing important work. I was working on behalf of a lot of low-income, at-risk people, often recent immigrants, and these are things I'm very passionate about, and I was able to do that work. But the job itself was taking such a toll on me, and as a cartoonist, I've been able to step into this kind of magical space where I'm able to speak up for minorities and underrepresented people, and that was so natural to me, and that was my passion. I never knew that this could be my career path.
I'm Chinese Canadian, Cantonese in particular, and growing up you hear things like, you must be good at math, Asians are hardworking, they keep their heads down. I am like very few of those. I think that the model minority myth is very, very in tune with intergenerational trauma, and it passes through intergenerational cycles. I think about like how my parents grew up relatively poor and how poverty impacted them. A very easy way to climb the social ladder is through capital. And I think a lot of people's understandings of what it is to be successful is based on the model minority myth, is based on what has been decided for us in order for us to fit into that rigid box of what it is to be Asian.
When I first started as an actor in film and television and theater and whatnot, I had agents to my face and to people say, there aren't that many Asian actors out there and they're not generally very good. Through my work that I've created for myself, creating our own stories, I performed at every stage that I could ever want to, and I'm thriving as an artist now. At the same time, when I do get work, you think about what kind of work are we getting? You know, that comes down to that representation question. I get cast as a lot of monks and a lot of dads, a lot of managers, and roles that aren't as intentional or valued or pivotal in a situation. We become part of the ambiance, and it's all centered around whiteness, orbits whiteness. And I think that's a really challenging thing, because a lot of the dialogues right now within the work that I do with community-engaged art, within spoken word, is recognizing intersections, but also intercultural solidarity.
At a certain point, you have to not give a damn anymore. You have to decide for yourself where your limits lie and at what point you're sacrificing too much. I had already made one big sacrifice in my life, which was to give up engineering and to try to be a creative. And I challenged these traditional expectations, and these are seditious ideas in my part of the world. As I started pursuing my creativity, as I started to be an artist, as I made my first sales, and that gave me so much confidence, that gave me so much validation for what I was doing and for the relevance of what I saw myself as, even though I wasn't there yet. I wasn't a successful artist, but I could see that what I wanted to do had meaning and it had value.
And finding queer arts communities, for example, was incredibly liberating. Being able to understand what exists beyond what community, what ancestors, what parents might think of you as being able to do, and exceeding beyond that opened my eyes up to what lies beyond when you believe in yourself and think that you can do things more than your parents know you can.
It's really easy to stay in the trap of being just a model minority. People look at you and they ask you, why are you unhappy? You have all these things going for you. But what it meant for me was that I always felt like I was in this rat race where I was always trying to achieve things that I thought this invisible society wanted me to be. It took a long time for me to realize that I just wasn't happy with my career choices and I needed a change.
So I think that for those of us who benefit from the model minority myth, it's about making sure that we create spaces that amplify these stories and get people to listen, get the people in power to listen and change the systems. I don't want to use the word allies. I think what I want to use is engaged bystanders. When we witness each other struggling or succeeding, how do we intervene or amplify and support?
Here is a very cool live shot of Harbor Center. Amy Bell will have our full forecast coming up next.
Spring in the city, and since this city is so closely tied to nature, the urban geese have a lot of options when it comes to where they park. Here is one of the more popular spots, Lost Lagoon in Stanley Park, but it seems some geese just can't stand it here, so they hang out at the mall. That's right, the mall. Well, it's not just any mall. Park Royal in Canada's richest community.
Have you heard anything about the geese that are here?
The geese that are living on top of the roof?
Yeah.
I've seen them. I've almost hit them a couple times. Yeah, I've seen them.
Sometimes you have one, sometimes you just have a couple, you know? Yeah.
Do they ever do anything to you?
No, never. No, they're very quiet. You know, they just pose here, and I think it's beautiful.
Just pretty much sits there.
Yeah, have you seen him too? Yeah.
Sits on one of the islands up there, doesn't bother anyone, just sort of hangs out.
Have you gone up to see him?
It amazes me that they choose these places that are so close to the people.
Yeah.
One would think that because they're part of nature and they are in fact wild, they would find some place that's further away from such the hustle bustle of Park Royal.
Whistling Bernie Smith was once a police officer and for a time served as a special assistant and chauffeur to Bill Vanderzam.
See that yellow thing? The goose is sitting up in the nest up there.
Now he takes care of Park Royal's geese and gander.
You can see her sitting right there, see? They just sit there. Rain, snow, shine, whatever the case. Cars drive by, people walk down there.
Some people did walk by and didn't even notice, and those who did notice say that this is just part of the Park Royal parking experience.
It was the male. He was way over there waddling around, and I thought, gee, I wonder if he knows what he's doing. And then I saw this one building her nest, and I thought, I guess that's a perfect place, except it's very public. So I hope she's all right. I hope they're okay.
In fact, the mother goose seemed to be at home in its nest of concrete, not bothered by shoppers nor cameras, but then she is not the only one in the neighborhood.
Just see where that white thing on the far side is? It's over there. It's always there. It's been there 2 years.
Well, not always.
And we came one day and it was gone, and we could see all the eggshells in the nest, and we thought that she's going to down the bottom of this, 5 floors down, and end up in the corner trap. But no, she got right across, way over there. See where the main office is? She was all across there trying to get inside the mall. When I got a call, we rushed over. Let's go. Took them down the river. The mother, 6 little geese. She was as proud as punch.
So this is the one that you let down to the river?
This is the one.
Most security guards would probably try to get rid of them.
Get rid of what?
Get rid of these geese. Why do you like keeping them around?
Well, they're our friends. The geese of Park Royal.
For Broadcast 1, I'm Matthew Cowan.
The weather update is brought to you by Direct Buy Furnace, installing the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
Well, Amy, another beautiful day. Is that sun expected to stay?
Oh, it's staying for a while, yes. In fact, tomorrow, probably the hottest of this week's stretch, and it won't really be until early next week that we start to see a gradual cool down. We did see some relief around the Fort St. John area today with things, the winds shifting, clearing some of that smoke, and cooler temperatures by a degree or two. So that will help, although we do have some unsettled weather coming by the end of the week that we really have to keep an eye on. But for the most part, as you can see, it was a very calm day for most of the province. Once again, we have this ridge of high pressure that is just holding this heat in and preventing any other systems from coming in. What we will see, though, as we head through towards the end of the week, probably by about Friday, we start to see that ridge of high pressure just breaking down a little bit, and that will be enough to cause some unsettled weather, which means we'll see some winds picking up, and also in the next day or two, we will see a good chance of some thunder and lightning in the southern and central interior that we really want to keep an eye on. Still seeing a lot of smoke around the Prince George area and Fort St. John, but hopefully we'll see a little bit of a relief. A better day tomorrow for Tofino, high of 18, but mainly cloudy with some breaks of sunshine. By the time you get out to the Fraser Valley, you're back up to about 30 degrees out in the Hope area and beyond. Very smoky still tomorrow in the Prince George area. As you can see, this is the unsettled weather. So with those lightning strikes, if we don't get a lot of rain associated with it, of course, with things being so dry, we'll have to keep an eye on any potential new fires. 24 degrees up in Dease Lake, Prince Rupert 16, just a bit of cloud mixed in. Same story for Port Hardy. Victoria looking at 23 degrees. So we are in for another very sunny day. As you can see, the temperature trend playing out, we're holding very steady. Tomorrow is the hottest one, but by a degree or two, it's really not until into next week that we see those temperatures coming down a bit.
Well, thank you so much, Amy.
You're welcome.
That is your late news for this Wednesday. Thank you so much for watching. For news at any time, visit our website, cbc.ca/bc. Have a great night.